Hello everyone, welcome to the course Integrated Skills. In today's session, we are going to discuss greetings, customs, and culture in Uzbekistan. If we look at the map of Uzbekistan, it is located in the Central Asia. You can see it is Uzbekistan and it is the border of Uzbekistan. We are going to discuss the geography and administration at first. Uzbekistan is a landlocked country in Central Asia. The nation is divided into 12 governmental regions plus one autonomous republic. It is Karakalpakstan, or it is located in the Aral Sea region. The country can be divided into three zones. First, desert, fertile valleys, mountainous areas. Desert is called Kızılkum, steppe and semi-arid region, covering 60% of the country, mainly the central and western parts. Fertile valleys, including the Fergana Valley that skirt the Amudarya and Sirdarya rivers. Mountainous areas in the east with peaks of about 4,500 meters above sea level. Tian Shan and Gisari Alay mountain regions. Coming to climate of Uzbekistan, the temperature is continental, dry and hot. Summer is very hot in some parts of Uzbekistan, but it is a bit warmer in the mountainous zones of Uzbekistan. Winter is very cool in the north, but it is a bit warmer in the south. There are some rainfall, but it's very little in the northwest, but there are more rainfall in the mountainous zone of Uzbekistan and in the middle and southern parts of it. Rainfall occurs during the winter season, mainly between October and April in Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan is located in the Central Asia, and it is Central Asia region. You can see in this picture the city of Samarkand, and it is very popular and historical city. All tourists came to see historical buildings in Samarkand. It is 2,500 years old. In this picture, you can see historical buildings and dancers with national clothes and some people, old people, some men with national clothes. If you talk about the rivers and topography, the main sea in Uzbekistan, Aral Sea, and it is located in the north part of Uzbekistan in Karakalpakstan. It is called Aral Sea region. And there are two main rivers, they are Sirdarya and Amudarya. Sirdarya is located in the northern part of Uzbekistan, but Amudarya is located in the southern part of Uzbekistan. These countries are borders of Uzbekistan. They are Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Afghanistan, and Turkmenistan. The history of Uzbekistan is very huge, and there were different nations, different generations, and first the early history began in 500 and 300 BC, and then the early Islamic periods and the Turkification of Mavaran-Nahar and the Mongol period, the rule of Timur, the Uzbek period, arrival of the Russians, the Russian conquest, the entering the 20th century, the Jadidist and Basmakis, and the Stalinist period, Russification and resistance, and it ends with independence. If we talk about early history of Uzbekistan briefly, there are some cities such as Bukhara and Samarkand began to appear as centers of government and culture by the 5th century BC. The Bactrian, Sogdian, and Tokharian states dominated the region. As China began to develop its silk trade with the West, Iranian cities took advantage of this commerce by becoming centers of trade. Using an extensive network of cities and settlements in the province of Mavaran-Nahr, a name given the region after the Arab conquest in Uzbekistan, and further east in what is today China's Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. The Sogdian intermediaries became the wealthiest of these Iranian merchants. Because of this trade on what became known as the Silk Road, Bukhara and Samarkand eventually became extremely wealthy cities, and at times Morannagar was one of the most influential and powerful Persian provinces of antiquity. Then Zoroastrianism. The Alexander the Great conquered the region in 328 BC, bringing it briefly under the control of his Macedonian Empire. In the same centuries, however, the region also was an important center of intellectual life and religion. Until the first centuries after Christ, the dominant religion in the region was Zoroastrianism, but Buddhism and Christianity also attracted large numbers of followers. Zoroastrianism, the dominant pre-Islamic religious tradition of the Iranian peoples, was founded by the reformer Zoroaster in the 60th or 70th century BC, if it's not earlier. Then the very important period, the huge period in Uzbekistan was the early Islamic period. The conquest of Central Asia by Islamic Arabs, which was completed in the 8th century AD, brought to the region a new religion and culture that continued to be dominant. The Arabs first invaded Mauryan in the middle of 7th century through sporadic raids during their conquest of Persia. This period plays a very important role in coming the religion into Uzbekistan. Then the Mongol period began. The Mongol invasion of Central Asia by Chinggis Khan is one of the turning points in the history of the region. That event left imprints that were still discernible in the early 20th century. The Mongol conquest of Central Asia, which took place from 12 and 19 to 12 and 25, led to a wholesale change in the population of Mauryan Nahr. The conquest quickened the process of Turkification in the region because although the armies of Chinggis Khan were led by Mongols, they were made up mostly of Turkic tribes that had been incorporated into the Mongol armies as the tribes were encountered in the Mongol southward sweep. The rule of Timur following the death of Chinggis Khan in 2012 and 27, his empire was divided among his three sons. Timur Tamerlan emerged from these struggles in the 1380s as the dominant force in Mauryan Nahr. Samarkand has been as capital of Central Asia a few centuries. Tamerlane, the name was derived from the Persian Timuri lang Timur, the name by Europeans during the 16th century. His Turkic name is Timur, which means iron. In his lifetime, he has conquered more than anyone else except for Alexander. His armies crossed Eurasia from Delhi to Moscow, from the Tian Shan Mountains of Central Asia to the Taurus Mountains in Anatolia. From 1380 till his death, 1405, Timur built a powerful empire and became the last of great nomadic leaders. In this slide, you can see Gur Emir Mausoleum. It is very historical. It is very popular building in Uzbekistan. Most tourists came visit to see this mausoleum. If we talk about Ulug'bek Observatory, it was constructed by Ulug'bek in 1428 and 1429, 46 meters in diameter, 30 meters in height. In the main hall, huge instrument was placed for observations of moon, sun, and as the stars of the vault of heaven. Observatory was unique construction for its time. The basis of observatory was giant goniometer vertical circle. Radius of circle was equal 4,211 12 meters, and the length of arc was 63 meters. The main instrument sextant was oriented with amazing exactness by line of meridian from south to north. Contribution of Croatian astronomic catalog Zicci Gurgani, known as Star Tables of Ulugh, belongs to Ulugh. Whole galaxy of great scientists was working on them for a long period and finished them to 14 and 39. You can see in this picture Ulugh Observatory, and it also attracts the majority of tourists who visit Uzbekistan. And in this picture you can see Samarkand. It is very beautiful city. Not only tourists but local people often visit to see and to have a rest in this city. So, Assalamu alaikum. Uzbekistan sizni qutlaydi. It is called Welcome to Uzbekistan. And these buildings are very famous, and most of the tourists and people visit. It is National Museum, and in this picture you can see a subway and some women who are wearing national clothes, and cotton is the national product of Uzbekistan. It is the appearance of people, and you can see in this picture an old women who are wearing national clothes. This clothes is worn by old women when they turn to their 80, and it is bazaar, it is market, it is a national bazaar, and you can buy anything you want, any product like fruits, vegetables, any foods you want. If we talk about the education in Uzbekistan, Uzbekistan children, teenagers, and young people under the age of 25 comprise approximately 30 60% of the total population. Nowadays in the country, every third child studies at the secondary school or gets trade experience at the high and secondary special schools and trade institutions. 5 million children study at school, and more than a million are preparing to be school children at kindergarten level. And there are some national sport types, and Kurash is the traditional upright jacket wrestling, which originated in Uzbekistan more than 3,500 years ago. The original translation of the word kurash from the Uzbek language is grappling or wrestling. Kurash as a type of martial art or public sport entertainment is mentioned in many ancient Oriental historical sources. The great Oriental scientist and philosopher Avicenna writes that practicing courage is one of the best ways to keep the human body and mind healthy and sound. Still, there is no exact information when, where, and by whom courage was first practiced. Courage is one of the most ancient forms of martial arts people had ever practiced. The culture is very unique, extraordinary, and interesting. And there are different kind of types of dancing and national songs and national folks. As you can see in this picture, The girls are wearing national clothes and they are dancing. There are some men who are wearing national clothes for men, and they are playing some national um, instruments. It's also the appearance of girls, and its national currency. It's called Sams. Customs and traditions in Uzbekistan. People from Uzbekistan can be chiefly described as hospitable. Uzbek hospitality is something to be experienced. You will certainly find yourself as a guest in an Uzbek house. There is a short information about Uzbek national dish pilav. Pilav is the most popular dish in Uzbekistan. You will almost always be served pilav as a guest. This dish basically consists of cooked meat, rice, onion, garlic, and spices. During the autumn hunting season, gourmets would use quail, pheasant, wild goose, wild pigeons as a substitute for mutton. This, however, is not very common. You can say in this picture mostly in weddings, in other